This is the Financial Survival Network. Now more than ever. The Financial Survival Network.
You can spin it any way you want. Inflation is here, and the US dollar is getting debased aggressively versus other currencies, and in particular versus precious. And so what better than an opportunity for the largest landholder in Red Lake, that's us. The Newman Todd asset alone was trading at $200 million of market cap in 2013. And we've now assembled what I would call a world-class suite of near-term production.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. What do you get when you've got a junior miner with creativity, a tight share structure, seasoned management, great projects? Well, what you get is the potential for outsized future shareholder gains, and maybe not that far in the future at all. I am talking about a company that really possesses all of these things and really can give you an opportunity to participate in what is really going to be something incredible in the not too distant future. I'm talking about Trillium Gold, and that's TRILLIUM gold.com. That's the website that you should immediately go to, sign up for future notifications so you get the news when everyone else does. And the ticker symbols are on the TSX Venture, TGM, on the OTCQX, that's the good one, TGLDF. And with us now is Russell Starr, who's running the show. And Russell, you're an entrepreneur, financial professional. You were financing for 20 years. You were in corporate finance, M&A, investment, business development. And like so many people like you out there, you got the itch to really go tired of looking from the outside in. You decided to actually go and do it. So what possessed you? Because in a way, it's a lot easier. You sit in your office and you connect people. You're an intermediary effectively, but now you're actually on the front line. What was the event or the mindset that occurred that made you actually go and do it?
Yeah, a really good question. So I'd created and started a firm called Echelon Wealth Management. Still own a piece of it with a couple of partners. And back in, call it around 2010, we were banking an area called the Guerrero Gold Belt. And I met an individual, which all of your listeners and readers are familiar with, Ivan Bebic. And for me, it's all about people and projects. And Ivan obviously has become sort of one of the market darlings, one of the stars out there. So it was a real opportunity for me to learn from someone who's done a fantastic job with his companies, but also to get involved with a project which anyone who doesn't remember, we took it from about $25 million in valuation to ultimately a sale to Agnico in 2014 for about $205 million. And then we tried to do it again. We started Orin, which is now Fury. Ivan and I remain good friends. I was slated to be the president of the Tier 1 opportunity in Peru, and still believe mightily in those projects, but had an opportunity to spread my wings even earlier for a world-class jurisdiction. And as you mentioned, an extremely tight share structure. We only have 52 million shares outstanding. We own almost 40% of that, management and insiders. And it just made a lot of sense. Ivan was supportive. He appreciates what I need to do with my career. I appreciate what he's doing with his. And so here we are now with Trillium, in my opinion, severely undervalued, and just a fantastic opportunity for people to make some money in the gold space, which I think has a very, very bright future here near term.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm a shareholder of Trillium, and for exactly the reasons you said, especially the tight share structure. I think you mentioned prior that basically the precious metal sector, mining was kind of the redheaded stepchild of industries, or the Maytag repairman, totally ignored and underappreciated. So companies would just kind of do whatever they had to do to get the capital to actually develop projects. But here you are, 52.3 million shares. At first, I thought that was a typo. I thought there was a one missing from in front of it, and management owning upwards of 20 million shares of that, which means that the public really gets a lot of bang for their buck, and they don't have to be as fearful as in other situations of excess dilution.
Well, there's that, and then there really is the opportunity that I think sits across the entire gold space, and that is you're looking at almost an industry, that being whether it's production, near-term production, or exploration, that's trading at all-time lows versus the Dow, the Russell, the Nasdaq, and for anyone who is cognizant of inflation, excess monetary stimulus, and not long the commodity market, and in particular gold or silver, you're probably setting yourself up for a very, very painful correction, because you can spin it any way you want. Inflation is here, and the US dollar is getting debased aggressively versus other currencies, and in particular versus precious. And so what better than an opportunity for the largest landholder in Red Lake? That's us. The Newman Todd asset alone was trading at $200 million of market cap in 2013. And we've now assembled what I would call a world-class suite of near-term production in Newman Todd and Gold Center, and then just a fabulous exploration package along the Confederation Greenstone Belt, which is where many of your viewers would recognize Great Bear sits in the Dixie discovery. So, the only thing we're missing is production, but that's basically what all juniors miss. We're looking to find the Bonanza, right?
And that's why you're here, of course. And it's interesting. You picked up these projects really for a song. You mentioned that the one trading for $200 million, and now you own it, and for a fraction of that. So one event can really turn the tide and make all the difference.
Yeah, it is a weird and perplexing world right now, because you're getting crypto and cannabis and mushrooms all trading at multiples that I didn't even think were possible. And then on top of that, you've got actual cash flowing companies where analysts are basically just extending their PE ratios beyond the sense of reasonability, because the view is that with zero interest rates, that's warranted. But what people don't understand is that inflation is coming. There's a couple of indices that people don't pay attention to, but and they're very, very quietly sort of pushed into the corner in the US. But the Chapwood Index shows that inflation's at about 10%. And the way the US actually measured inflation in 1980 shows that it's at close to 8 or 9%. So really, it's just the wool being pulled over people's eyes. But back specifically to our projects, Newman Todd has 55,000 meters of drilling. I mean, this is not a let's hope to find gold. Our last press release, we hit VG on 3 out of 5 holes. We have intersections of 35 of close to 15, 7 of 15. We just hit almost a half meter of 126. We know there's gold at Newman Todd, and we're basically getting no love, as the rest of the sector is, for what is likely one of the near-term discoveries. And then you add that in that we're literally 18 kilometers away from 2 operating mills, maybe 20 kilometers to Battle North, 18 kilometers to Bommerston and the Red Lake mine. This is an asset, the Newman Todd asset, that literally could go into production with just shovels and trucks and just moving all the feed to the mills. So it's a once in a lifetime where you get these assets that are so deeply discounted. And then you add in Gold Center, which we just press released today, the permit. that's literally the continuation of the Red Lake mine, which is 25.6 million ounces at 15 plus grams per ton. And we own the continuation of that mine, and we will be drilling here very, very shortly for what could be a multi-million ounce discovery just with one single drill hole that happens to hit the trend that mine sits on.
I'm thinking maybe I should go buy some more shares, but but seriously, and most importantly, you're not just talking the talk. You got $13 million in the treasury that you're ready to finance this with.
Yeah, we have no intent whatsoever to raise any cash. We've got enough to execute on our between 40 and 60,000 meter drill program. The only reason I'm not nailing that down is you really just don't know what the market's going to do. But assuming that gold is well bid, what better place to be putting your dollars to work than a company who's going to have 3 drill rigs turning within the next couple of weeks? We've already got 2 turning at Newman Todd and Rivard, and as you know, and I mentioned, there's gold everywhere there. And then we'll have the 3rd rig turning at the Gold Center discovery, and then of course we have all of the other property package we've assembled on the Confederation Greenstone Belt. And readers and people should be aware we're now the largest landholder in basically, you can split hairs here, but it's certainly one of the top 5 mining jurisdictions in the world. And here as we sit today, I think we're maybe a $70 or an $80 million market cap company, and the value just isn't reflective of what we've created and put together, and as well as the opportunity that we're giving shareholders with the amount of drilling we're going to be doing. And as you know, I say this cautiously, you always want the gold price behind your back, the wind behind your back instead of in your face. But the reality is that even if gold was to stay static, if you're hitting with the drill bit, you are going to create value. And therein lies sort of that opportunity for Trillium.
And it just takes one drill hole, like you said.
Yeah. And it's, the anecdote that I've given to people, and it's surprising that no one seems to care or pay attention to it. But the only analog to Gold Center historically that I've found is Gold Eagle. And Gold Eagle had 200 drill holes into a property that was the continuation of the Koshner mine, a much smaller mine than the Red Lake mine. Granted, it's still in the same complex. That sold for $1.5 billion to Gold Corp in 2008. And we're here sitting with Gold Center and getting zero value for it. Again, it has to do with sort of this weird market we live in where everyone's chasing Twitter and Facebook. And I actually don't have an issue with crypto because it kind of carries a similar value statement that gold does. But in what world should a cannabis or a mushroom company with no revenue be trading at $1 billion or $2 billion? And that's what's existing in the market today.
And that stuff, literally, if it doesn't grow on trees, it grows on vines or manure. And there's the potential to create unlimited quantities of it, whereas gold, there's only so much, and it's getting in tighter and tighter supply. Reserves for the majors are down. We've seen this consolidation in the majors, but what's it going to take for them to start writing checks?
Look, I think they're all looking very carefully right now. Like the world is stuck in what I believe the peak gold movement now. It's my belief that we've seen the maximum production already hit the tape. And so when you've got an environment where you've got massive inflation, possibly even stagflation coming into the picture, you clearly should be looking at, if not gold and silver, at least commodities. And for whatever reason, that happens to be an entire sector that's being forgotten by the US and to a large extent Canada. And the irony is, when we did our financing, it was all offshore. It was all European and Asian orders. They see the value in gold. They see the opportunity. We just, for whatever reason, maybe it's just a complete lack of any sort of form of marketing material from the gold industry. We've just been forgotten. And the same holds true for nickel and copper, although copper seems to be getting a lot more attention just because it is sort of the PhD of metals.
Yeah, and with the trend towards electrification, of course. So, not going to take much. You mentioned in a prior interview that the drilling that took place didn't go deep enough in the Rivard mine. I think you mentioned that they'd go around with a divining rod.
Yeah, so in Rivard, which is the neighboring property to Newman Todd, typically the deposits in Red Lake extend for kilometers of depth. All of the drilling at Newman Todd has been from surface down to 400 meters, and it's well disseminated on top of that. So you get sort of the appearance of a potential open pit scenario into an underground mine. There was one drill hole that intersected the Newman Todd structure down a kilometer, so we know it actually continues at depth. It was just not filled in. So the market is going to be very pleasantly surprised when we start showing the models that we've come up for Newman Todd and what the potential upside is, which no one is actually paying attention to right now. But what you're referring to is Rivard, where literally there's visible gold everywhere. Every 15 meters, you walk across a quartz vein that's gold bearing with VG in it. And the Rivard family would walk around with augers, drill maybe a 1 meter hole in it, stick a tube of dynamite or a stick of dynamite in it, and then just blow up the quartz vein, recover the gold, and pour it. They've literally had virtually no drilling on that property, and it's the neighboring property in Newman Todd. So there is massive upside to the Newman Todd structure, massive upside to Rivard and the VG and the veins that we believe are juicing up the Newman Todd structure. So even if we were just talking about that as an opportunity, I would still view ourselves as being undervalued. But then you layer in Gold Center and the impending drill program there, and you have nothing short of a recipe for major news flow for investors and substantial value creation to the upside.
Well, if I might make an observation here, Russell, you sound extremely confident about this.
Yeah, it's 55,000 meters, every second hole hit greater than 10 grams per ton. What further validation do you need at Newman Todd? So like I said, that alone to me is enough to support our current valuation and then some. But then you layer in the drilling at Rivard, where we're drilling veins that we can see gold in them. Missing gold when you actually see the gold, it's going to be incredibly difficult to do. And then, like I said, you can go to our presentation where we outline Gold Center, but the mine trends right into our property. Evolution's exploring for and drilling for gold 300 meters away from our property boundary. So again, I'll be shocked if we don't hit something there.
Sounds like a layup.
I'm always cautious. The gold market has been a fickle beast, but we're going to be putting out drill results every 2 to 4 weeks continuously for an entire year, and we're going to be hitting a lot of EG. We're going to be hitting a lot of high grade, and then you have that once in a lifetime opportunity at Gold Center. So if not a layup, it's certainly very close to it. And again, I think it's only a matter of time before the market recognizes how messed up the U.S. economy is, the monetary situation. The petro yuan is now an alternative to settlement. Instead of U.S. dollars for oil, you can settle oil in gold and Chinese renminbi. And again, I'm speaking from experience. I have 2 master's degree and started a PhD in economics. So, this froth in the market can persist for a while, but it's truly only a matter of time before people recognize that inflation is rampant in the U.S. Rampant.
Yeah, and then they're going to go running for the exits, whether it's bonds or shares, and they're going to be looking for something tangible, something of value, and then they get to the precious metals sector, and then it's off to the races.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So is there anything that keeps you up at night that you worry about? Because look, everyone in business worries about stuff they can't control. Let's face it.
Look, it's possible that the Red Lake mine, this 25 million ounce major mine, just stops right at our property boundary. I mean, that is possible. There are no faults. We know that. So it's highly unlikely. And then we've intersected the Newman-Todd structure in one hole, and literally it's only been one hole. But there is, Mother Nature can be a fickle person, and there's no guarantee that you're going to continue to see mineralization. But to be honest with you, at our current market cap and with the cash that we have in the till and the amount of drilling we're doing, we really have moderated our downside. The only thing that might keep me up at night is the persistence of sort of the sell-offs in gold. But even still, if you would talk to me 5 years ago and said, gold's only going to be at 1850, I mean, that's a high five type scenario. And it's just people and perspectives aren't there yet. But again, I think it's only a matter of time before people start understanding that the US dollar is getting debased daily, and you need to have an alternative form of currency, whether it's gold or crypto. And I personally wouldn't want to give my partner or a girlfriend a crypto necklace. I think they'd prefer a gold necklace. So gold is definitely going to have use.
Well, you can buy a Tesla now for crypto, or you'll be able to shortly if that's what floats your boat. And we should state that the debasement is global in scale. Everybody's doing it, and there's going to come a time where the piper has to be paid. So with that in mind, your confidence is very understandable. Look, at 1850, virtually every gold deposit in the world is theoretically economically feasible, but some are more so than others. And clearly, Newman-Todd and your other projects are really at the top of that list.
Yeah, the people need to appreciate that looking for gold in Ghana or Mexico is very different than looking for gold in one of the most reputable jurisdictions in the globe, and that is the Red Lake area. We're not looking in an area that's yet to be discovered. This is a place where they've been mining gold for over a century. There's incredible infrastructure. There's very, very, very educated and knowledgeable geos, because they've been working on mines and understand the lithology for the area. So, if you're going to be looking to add a gold equity into your portfolio, I would always say, look at the management team, look obviously at the technical team, look at the assets, and then just why bother putting your dollars to work in a very, very difficult jurisdiction when you can actually put them to work in a very, very amenable, friendly, and safe jurisdiction such as Red Lake.
Hey, it sounds like a winning combination, and we're excited, both as shareholders and just observers of the sector. So you should go over to trilliumgold.com, sign up for the notifications ASAP. Check out the presentation. It's quite persuasive. Again, I'll remind you the tickers on the TSXV, TGM, and on the OTCQX, TGLDF. Russell, sounds like things are really coming together, and we are extremely, extremely excited, and we'll be following the story closely.
Thanks so much, Kerry. Really appreciate your time.
The Financial Survival Network.